Welcome to another episode of Reason for Truth. I'm your host, Stevie Garofalo. A little casual today, pulling this one out of 9/11. It's been kind of a somber day. I'm actually recording this on 9/11, not for 9/11, September 11th. Remember, I had been in Italy just 2 months prior to the Twin Towers being taken down, the plane going down in Pennsylvania, and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. being hit, and a lot of people died, thousands of people. I remember I was at my desk in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were building a house, and I just remember the somberness. I remember my wife coming home from work. A lot of businesses just shut down. They, just shut down and sent everyone home. It was a national, big time, just kind of a shocking event, a tragedy. And today what I want to do is, Reason for Truth, where we start, right, with the truth first, then we give the reasons last, but where we're always and constantly learning. Why? Well, because if we're not learning, we're not teaching well. And that's what we want to accomplish today. I want to be sensitive. I'm not here to criticize Muslims, but I do want to look at Islam and look at Christianity. And I want to make the truth for today will be plain and simply that while Islam has, and we're going to look at the Quran, while Islam has calls for violence against non-Muslims, not just Christians, it's not true that all Muslims are violent people. And you can reverse that sentence as well. But I want to give the reasons for that, but I also want to be, I want to be truthful to what the text reads. I don't want to get emotional, and I don't want to say, hey, listen, let's bring violence on Muslims. We did a little research, and everything comes up violence on Muslims, and I think there's a lot of sensitivity around that, but I also think there's as to the political correctness of that, as is the case for much of the United States of America. So I want to be fair to this, and I'm going to work from a couple pieces of materials. I'm going to as well go to the faces of Ground Zero that by a good buddy of mine, Don Sanchez. He was NYPD when the towers went down. He was actually there. And Don told me a little bit of kind of spending days upon days on the heap trying to look for body parts and sift through for debris and, people's personal belongings, just kind of cleaning up the place. So I can't imagine the horror he faced. And, at the end of the day, what we have to deal with today is we got a new America that changed the country. The United States of America has been changed forever, right? You like it or you don't. I remember a lot of people say, just want to get back to the new normal. That was before the crash of 2008. And that's before our current COVID situation and the political climate that is absolutely just horrific. But we have faith in Jesus Christ, and He, remember, implements governments. And He, it could be good, it could be bad. But at the end of the day, we got to put God above all things, and He commands us to be obedient to the government. Certainly not to horrific actions of mayhem and murder. Some of the things we're seeing, that certainly is not called for, but certainly respect of the government. The government should as well respect the citizens. So, listen, I want to point out a few things here before we because this is going to be a fairly short episode of Reason for Truth, but I want to talk about a little bit. I did a little research on Islamic attitudes towards the use of violence. And actually, this is pretty common. I have a master's in Christian apologetics with an emphasis on Islamic studies. I pulled a little bit of tidbits here. I'll share that with you before I share. I want to share a few personal stories that these folks had, given their a lot of their emotional time, a lot of their emotional energy. And a lot of people on the first responders gave quite a bit of themselves, and I want to share a little bit of their words here. I'll as well encourage you to get this book, The Faces of Ground Zero. They can get this as well. It's a Life magazine. They can get this on Amazon still. I haven't seen. It's a fairly old Portraits of the Heroes of September 11th, 2001 by Joe McNally with a tribute from Rudolph G. Giuliani. God's blessings to all of y'all in New York, especially what's going on now, right? Won't even go there. But Islamic attitudes towards the use of violence, there really is no single Islamic attitude towards the use of violence. It really, you'll see Muslims all over the board when we talk about it. Why do some Muslims run planes into buildings or do other things, terrorism? And scholars of Islam are divided really over the extent by which the Quran permits or even advocates violence against unbelievers. And that is very true. We want to see what the Quran says, because what you'll have is the Qurans, the Islamic mullahs, and you'll see the imams will be able to interpret some of the the Quran and the Hadith into what they think it says, and that interpretation doesn't necessarily lead to one truth. So what we're going to do is look at some of the surahs. Those are the verses of the Quran, and it'd be kind of get a better idea there. But the Quran asserts that there should be no compulsion in religion. That's Surah 2:256. That's important because if there's no compulsion, that it shouldn't be, you shouldn't hear the language out of Muslims or Islam that listen, you have to bow to Allah and say, hey, Allah is the only God, and Muhammad's his last prophet. But you do see that in some parts of Islam. Doesn't again mean all Muslims are saying that forcibly is saying that they're not agreeing with that. But you can look at that's a Quran, that's a fair verse. Let me read it again. The Quran asserts that there should be no compulsion in religion. That means you don't have to become a Muslim. It's Surah 2:256. But some Muslims will say that everybody's a Muslim, and it's basically it's heresy for anybody to proclaim that Islam is not the true God. Okay, not all Muslims, just some. And so I want to be clear, that's what the Quran says there. But by the same token, while it calls for no religion, no compulsion in religion, 2:256, and it peacefully calls to invite, that's called dawah, D-A-W-A-H, it peaceably invite people to follow Islam. That's Surah 16:125. I think that's great. That's called freedom of religion. I think that should be allowed. Be honest with you, that's peaceful, and peaceful's peaceful. I think that's a great thing. But then the Quran also permits the use of violence in certain circumstances. You see that in Surah 8:38, 39, and 47:4. And the two texts in particular kind of have sometimes been cited as justification for violence against unbelievers. Surah 9:5, 29. Historically, the Islamic Caliphate extended protection status. It's called it's DHIMMI. I think it's dhimmi. To other monotheistic religions, it prohibited the exercise of violence against them as long as they pay a special tax, and it was paid. So what happens is you have many countries where if you're not a Muslim, or if you're a Muslim that happens to be worshiping any other religion outside Islam, they do charge you a tax. So I think it's true of Saudi Arabia. So in other words, if you're not a self-proclaimed Muslim, well, if you don't go to jail, whatever, then you're going to have to pay tax. You got to pay tax just to not be a Muslim. That's the way it goes. Reminds me of the state of New Jersey. You move out of there, I think they charge you taxes for 5 years or something like that. Even if you don't live in the state, how that got by the Supreme Court so far, I have no idea. But I don't think that's right. You're not living in the state, but hey, that's the way it goes. Now, Islam generally embraces the honor of martyrdom, and I think this is kind of what we saw on 9/11. You saw the voice cockpit recorder, the voices on all of those, the planes that crashed. You heard Allah, Allah Akbar, God is great, in Arabic. And so Islam generally embraces the honor of martyrdom and affirms that the integral to Islamic faith is a struggle. It's called a jihad. Now, to be fair, and they call the jihad is really a struggle or a jihad against idolatry and unbelief. Idolatry. So there's many kinds of jihad, though, right? Some say it's a struggle for within with their faith. Others will say it's on the opposite spectrum, that it's a struggle for Islam to keep hard and to keep, listen, man, you need to become a Muslim. If you don't, we're going to invoke violence against you or take your life or harm you or create terrorism. And then there's a spectrum in between. Again, you meet a Muslim, they may very much be an atheist, right? Or they may be a Sufi, which is kind of a spiritual, pluralistic, relative Muslim, which in Iran they put them in jail or put them to death, the Sufis. But anyways, if opposite end of the spectrum is Osama bin Laden, right? The mastermind of 9/11. He was a Wahhabi, and so that is really, they go back to kind of the Gilded Age of Islam, going back to the Gilded Age of Islam, when they were kind of in the height of their academic and military feats, and kind of as rising as a world power, as a theistic world power. Very different. So you have your Shias and your Sunnis, right? Your Shias have to be direct bloodline of Muhammad. So you're never really going to get off the peg more than about 20% of the Islamic or the Muslim population. So the Sunnis are typically a larger group because they don't have to be associated bloodline of Muhammad. So that's just the way that goes. And so you have many different sects of Islam believing different things in some cases. The Quran, by the way, they don't have the original Quran. We don't have the original Bible. But by the same token, they will proclaim in many cases that they do, depending on the Muslim you speak to. But some Muslims emphasize a higher jihad, to go back to jihad, which is really is a nonviolent struggle, or focuses more on the internal struggle as an individual to live a life of purity. That's why you hear a lot of these, these Muslims will say, America's an immoral place, and in many ways they're right. You can't argue with them about that. And so, Muslims, they're still kind of old school in that way. By the same token, listen, if you could have 3 wives, which they allow for, I don't know how that's polygamy. I guess that's a different story, but that kind of goes against the one-wife rule in Christianity, the theistic religion of Christianity. Having said that, if you look at the terrorists on 9/11 before jihad, clear record of drinking a lot of alcohol, girlfriends, going to strip clubs and prostitutes, you name it, they were doing it. Why? Because you die a martyr and your slate, according to Islam, is clean. So you can do whatever you want and die a martyr. They do that. They were just living it up. Kind of like saying, I'm just racking up the bills because I know I'm going to die tomorrow, and I'm going to die tomorrow, so therefore I'll just leave my debt. Rack it up. Enjoy the sins of the flesh. And that's what they did in great part. The Muslim down in Florida that had gone to flight school, that was just the case with him. Again, many of them look for this nonviolent, this site of looking for this, to look purity, to live a life of purity from the individual perspective. So however many Muslims accept the use of violence in certain circumstances, especially against what they call kafirs, K-A-F-I-R-S, kiffers, or unbelievers. In the last few centuries, more radical groups, such as the Wahhabis, as I spoke to before, under Osama bin Laden, and have accepted violence against other confessing Muslims, right, who behave in ways they deem idolatrous. I guess you could say a little bit of that was true with ISIS, although they were kind of just rogue. I think a lot of Islam didn't like ISIS, but you do see that in Saudi Arabia. They have military police that basically, religious police that put people in jail if they catch you not going to the mosque on their Friday as their Sabbath. So the Muslims do their Sabbath on Friday, the Jews on Saturday, they call it Shabbat, and then we go to church on Sunday for the Christians, right? So most recently, the growth of really this extremist movement of Islamism and the emergence of terrorist networks such as Al-Qaeda, right, and you got ISIS, and they have served to make the use of violence a little bit more widely acceptable. And I tell you, with all that having been said, I think the important thing is, I'm not going to go into the biblical roots of Islam, but I will say that I think the best thing we could be doing is praying for Muslims, having them over for dinner, and sharing the love of Jesus Christ with them. And if they don't become Christians, still love on them, right? Show them really the love of Jesus Christ, love them unconditionally. I think that's the Christian way. I want to read a few things. Maybe I'll put this picture up there. I think I can do that because I gave full credit to the book. But so you have different testimonies here. You have Dr. Robert G. Lahita. That's right here. And my friend Don told me what happened. He said right after 9/11, the gentleman who put his book together, Joe McNally, I suppose, if I remember the story correctly, his name's on the front, had actually gathered people just as they were kind of they just grabbing them while they were basically kind of coming off the line of serving after 9/11. And so this is kind of some of their testimonies. And he was part of, Lahita was, Dr. Robert Lahita was, he was Mobile Intensive Care Unit Medical Director of Hudson County, New Jersey. And police told Lahidi he was needed at the Jersey City Pier where victims were being transported. That's a tough job. This is his quote. He said, "I set up a field hospital. I had 2 paramedics and 4 EMTs. Nobody else for over an hour. We had no stretchers, no ambulance workers. No ambulances. Workers were coming out of the nearby buildings with rolling office chairs for us to use to transport victims off the boats. We put IVs, and I started deputizing civilians to hold IV bottles and help with CPR. We triaged and triaged and triaged a lot. A lot were walking wounded or just hysterical." I think he's talking about. Really the people who were not that were on the ground, not the people in the buildings. I think the thing that I remember most about 9/11 was just the fact that there really were hardly any survivors from the building, just a handful. And I think that's I think the most difficult thing for certainly the police and the fire. A lot of people don't realize as well, between the 2 tower buildings, you had a lot of firefighters who lost their life. How? Because they were either in the building or they were next to their fire engine, and the fire engine was close to what? The building to put the fire out. And when the building came down, it just crushed the fire engines, it crushed the firefighters and the police that were there. And I want to pick out a couple more testimonies here. And here you go. You have Danny Foley, okay, firefighter. And I want to read just a bit. And I want to give all respect here. I don't usually like doing this section. I don't do a lot on 9/11 just because I just think that we have to remember it. But what a painful time in history. And I was born in New York City. So I have enough friends over there, and I heard enough stories that it's a lot of children left without a dad or a mom, and husbands left without wives left without husbands, and it goes on. But Danny Foley, firefighter, engine 68, fire department, New York, FDNY, off duty on the 11th. He rushed to the rescue. 3 firehouse where his brother Tommy worked. He searched that day and thereafter, and he and his brother-in-law found Tommy's body on September 21st. First day I searched 36 hours. Had a hard time calling home. When I spoke to my father, I promised one way or another I'd find Tommy and bring him home. Evidently, he did the difficult way. I was talking with a couple Muslims in Charlotte, North Carolina some years ago. I was talking to a young man. I said, "Hey, at the end of the day, let me ask you a question." I said, who do you fear more, and who should be obedient more to? Is you, your parents, or Allah or God? He said, "Oh man, Allah, God." I said, "Well, what have you read Have you ever? He's married. His dad is a Muslim from Palestine, which is not that's a pretty strong. It's the hardcore Muslims there is to the Islamic faith. But he married a Southern belle. They kind of get points on the Islamic going to heaven's kind of level scale there. But he said his mom is blonde hair, blue eyes, Southern belle. And so I said to him, listen, you ever read the Bible? And he said, "No, why would I do that?" I said, "Well, so your mom's grew up in the church. So you haven't read both to see for yourself what the truth is. So if you get it wrong, what happens? Then you've defied God in light of respect for your parents." And I understand, being Sicilian, respect for your parents is very high. But he agreed respect for God is first, more important. And he said, well, the Old Testament doesn't connect with the New Testament at all, which is crazy. It's so intertwined, you can't undo it. And so I said, you evidently haven't read it. So I challenged him. I said, you should read it for yourself and see who God is, and make your mind up. But listen, if you come to the conclusion, it looks like the evidence shows that Islam is the truth, I said, you need to stick with Islam, and everyone else does as well. But if not, then you got to look at Christianity, so on and so forth. But I think that you look at a lot of these stories, and they're heartbreaking. And you look at Don Casey, he's a firefighter here, this single firefighter there, and he's holding like a big crowbar, and he's firefighter ladder 9. Casey responded to the initial alarms for Tower 1, the first one to go down, and he climbed to the 20th floor. No elevator. When the other tower collapsed, the 8 men from Ladder 9 then received a radio call to descend. 5 made it out alive. This is his quote from him. You had to brace yourself or you'd be knocked over from the building shaking. We had no idea what it was. We didn't even know the second tower had been hit. When I made it out, people were yelling, "Run, get away from the building." It came down a few seconds later. So by God's grace, Mr. Don Casey there is alive to give that quote. God bless he and his family. I want to end this segment with my friend, Mr. Don Sanchez. There he is. There's Don, is the gentleman in the white suit. He put a little thing there, Steve. You can see that. That's Don Sanchez. I said, Steve, appreciate your ministry. Love you for Christ and your second friendship. It's a blessing for the call you brother, loving Christ. Donald, 2 Corinthians 4:5. Donald, the same back at you. And I want to read something just a little bit with Donald Sanchez, and next to him is Jacqueline Zayas. And they're detectives, by the way, NYPD's 52nd Precinct. Sanchez and Zayas searched through the rubble at Fresh Kills landfill in Staten Island looking for items that could help identify victims. Here's a quote from him. "You dig for hours, sifting through the mounds of mud and twisted metal," said Sanchez. "It's so impersonal until you come across a lock of hair, a shredded skirt, or a photo ID. Then the horror screams out to you, and you feel the pain of those lost lives all over again." Can't imagine at all what folks went through, but I think it's important that we, I think it's very important that we keep in mind this event in our mind, and not to celebrate it, but to keep it as really a time to reflect on it. The true God of the universe would never call us to murder another human being, and that's what happened on 9/11. Again, what I want to do is encourage you not to go out and be angry with Muslims, but share the love of Jesus Christ. Show them the quite opposite. And I think that's how you change the world. And we're called in the Great Commission, Matthew 28, to do so. We were called to go out to all ends of the world, reach people for Jesus Christ. That's Jesus' last words before he's on earth. And Jesus said, make disciples of them. The only way you're going to make disciples of them is, 1 Peter 3:15 says, be ready to give an answer for the hope that lies within you, but with gentleness or meekness and respect, right? So you want to speak the truth, right? You want to do so in love. Have some meal with the Muslims. They love to eat, like the Sicilians, love to have family over, love to come together. And I think we can come, and many cultures do that. I think we can find some commonality, share the love of Christ, certainly have that freedom here in the United States. Not all countries do. And bottom line is, those are the reasons why we need to be respectful for those who lost their lives. We also it's also the reasons why we have to understand what jihad is. On different scales. Meet one Muslim, their idea of jihad may be different than another Muslim. But we also have to understand what the Quran really says. It says two different things, right? It says, listen, no compulsion to force people to become Muslims on one hand, but on the other hand it says, remove their fingers if they fail to do so. It says both of those things, and at the end of the day we have to make sure that we're just reaching Muslims for Christ. We share one commonality or a number of commonalities. They do believe in Jesus Christ. They believe he's a prophet called Isa, I-S-A. They believe that Isa is a prophet and that at the end times, like in Revelation, that he's coming back on a black horse, not a white horse, and he's going to wipe out all the churches and the Christians and bring justice. And they're a theistic religion. There's only 3 theistic religions in the world in order: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Every other religion is either polytheistic or pantheistic. So we have those commonalities to work from with them. So do appreciate you tuning in. Do a few things if you would. If you're listening on iTunes, if you would, just give us 5 stars on iTunes. Listen, a lot of people who don't like Christ or don't like the conservative message will go ahead and mark you down. And we need you to help mark us up so we get good grades. And I really appreciate if you did that. If you happen to be listening on YouTube, you know what the YouTuber request is. Tell your friends about us, hit the subscribe button, and boom, hit that little bell down there. It's called the alert bell. Make sure that you You'll get alerted when a new episode comes out. Don't forget as well, check our new blog out. Just came out. Yeah, we've had a blog for years, but Del Potter is going to be writing as well once a week for that. Excited. He's got read his first article. It's really good. You got to go there, and very creative and very informative. I think it'll be helpful for you. RFT, that's for Reason for Truth, rftblog.com, rftblog.com. God's blessings to you. Make sure, again, you subscribe and hit that alert bell. God's blessings to you. I'm your host, Stephen Garofalo, and this is your Reason for Truth for today.